Good morning, folks. It's Monday morning. Behind me here is the Lockside Cafe, or Lockside Diner, which some of you, if you watch Only Fools and Horses, might know as Sid's Cafe, the greasy spoon. If you ever are in Bristol, it's worth having a visit. Have a nice cup of coffee in there. It's not much of a greasy spoon anymore, it's a decent cafe. And this area along here is transition for Bristol Triathlon. If they actually keep the same layout as they did with the previous races, this is where all the transition area is, and overlooks the harbour side, which is a nice view. That's obviously where the swim takes place. So a fairly quick week roundup. I did exactly what I'd intended to do. Monday I did Masters, swimming seems to be going really well. Tuesday went and had a really nice easy zone 1 20-minute run. Wednesday I skipped the turbo, there's a reason for that, which I'll explain in a minute. And then Thursday I did another 20-minute run, but I did a progression run because I felt really great. So I managed to pick the pace up steadily throughout that 20 minutes. And then Friday morning obviously went and did Masters again and was put through my paces by Jackie and all the rest of the guys at swimming. So the reason I skipped the turbo on Wednesday was because I had promised myself that I would do a cyclocross race this year. I had intended to be a lot fitter and a lot better at it, but I did it anyway. So here's some video from what I did yesterday. I'm not going to stop and talk for long because I'm pretty broken after that. That's the Shamcross cyclocross race done. I did say I was going to do a cyclocross race this season, and I've done it, and I'm glad it's over because it was an hour long. When I raced in 2017, they were only 45 minutes. That was an hour of just sheer hell. Started in last, finished in last, came off a couple of times, cut my knee open. Yeah, it was just utterly brutal in my opinion. That's just the toughest thing that I do. It's harder than a sprint try when you're in good shape. In my opinion, sprint triathlons when you're in really good shape are just brutal. I think cyclocross is by far and away the toughest thing that I do, or have done, I should say. So anyway, dead last. Said I'd probably be last, but I did do the race, and that's the important thing. Lots of work to be done really in terms of bike handling and also just general fitness. It's so brutal where you're going full bore. You're going full gas and then you've got to try and recover, but during the recovery you're still trying to handle the bike, and it was really sticky and slippy and muddy out there. It's such a great course. It's a purpose-built course, so I'd recommend it. It is hard work, but it's got to do you some good, isn't it, in the long run, for whatever racing you're doing, whether it's time trialing or whether it's for triathlon. We don't normally kind of do that level of intensity and then recovery, and it is good to kind of get that done from time to time. Huge respect to Gwen and Kev who run this race, and all the other helpers and supporters and marshals and everybody else there. It's a brilliant race, and everyone's off to watch the world champs now, to see who wins that. I think it's probably a bit of a foregone conclusion, if I'm honest with you. Oh, and just another quick point. This is why cyclists shave their legs. I'm not going to hold it too close, but I'm trying to clean all the blood and the crap off my leg, and all the hair is just holding all the mud and the blood in, and this is one of the reasons why we tend to shave our legs, and this is the winter for me, so I haven't bothered. But yeah, without getting too kind of grim and gross on it, it's proving to be a complete nightmare to try and use his antiseptic wipes to clean up my leg. So I've had a bit of a chance to reflect on yesterday's race, and I think I might have discovered type 3 fun, where it takes even longer to kind of appreciate the efforts that you put in. Like with a lot of things, the more effort you put in at the time, the more you get back. There's no doubt it was a tough race yesterday. Even the really good racers were saying that the conditions were really harsh. The mud felt at times like it was like that scene in Flash Gordon, that 80s movie where Flash Gordon falls into the swamp and he gets sucked underneath under the ground. And it felt sometimes when you were riding through the bits where you were supposed to be recovering in the race, it was through this really, really sticky, claggy mud. And it was into a block headwind as well most of the time, so it made it for really tough going. I must admit, yesterday I really wish I had disc brakes, not because the course needed a lot of braking, but more because I've got a cheap second-hand cross bike with V brakes, and it was all jamming up with mud and stones and some of the cinders and stuff from the top of the ramps that they put in. And at the time I was quite happy to have to stop and actually get off my bike and clear all that out, and I had to do that maybe half a dozen times actually to be able to keep the bike going. It was actually jamming up, so I'm going to blame some of my lack of speed on that. But like with time trialling, cyclocross isn't one of those races where, like in a road race, it's very obvious who it is that's last across the line. With a time trial, obviously everyone goes off at different times, and with cyclocross you're racing laps. So when the leaders cross the line for the last lap and they get the bell, it might be that you've been lapped by quite a few riders and you end up actually coming in front of them, which obviously means that you're not being kind of singled out as the person that crosses the line last. And let's be honest, nobody really cares about that stuff anyway. And it's such good training for triathletes. We don't normally do those kind of full bore, full gas efforts and then having to recover as much as you can. And it's also great for bike handling. I know for a fact that my bike handling's not great, and in a race like Bristol here, there's a dead turn at one end where I always lose time on some of the other riders. It's really difficult sometimes to kind of come out of that corner with the speed, and I'm hoping that a little bit more on my work on my cyclocross riding will kind of benefit that a little bit. So all in all, a great event yesterday, fantastic atmosphere, the weather was really quite pleasant apart from that bloody headwind, and I'd just like to extend a really big thanks to Gwen and Kev for organising the race and putting on such a good event with such a great atmosphere and all the spectators cheering on and the bells going in the background. And that's it for me this week. So the plan this week is just to up the volume slightly with the runs, keep the swims where they are. Probably going to do a bike commute during the week, and just keep an eye on the food this week. That's the plan, just up it all slightly and steadily. Have a good week, and I'll see you on the next video.